Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast that's coming out from True Group. It's
not the 5-minute fix.
Not the 5-minute fix. It's the content that made me a celebrity, the most famous man on earth, the best content on the internet. It's Hot or Not.
And is it related in any way to when you started your video production company 20 years ago?
Patrick. So the format is we're going to pick 3 things every week that are hot in the world of marketing and 3 things are not, and just generally discuss it still in a concise format. So
in the world of marketing, loosely. Right?
Loosely.
We will occasionally go for pecan nuts or...
Pecans are always hot, to be fair. Let's not start there. So let's start with hot. Let's start with positives. For this week, what's been hot in the world of marketing is, and we've interviewed him on the podcast before.
What?
Yeah. Alex Smith, or, you know, as he's on LinkedIn, it's Alex HM Smith, I believe. But he is doing terrific content on LinkedIn. So obviously, we interviewed him on LinkedIn. His book, The No Bullshit Strategy, we both read it. We both
caused an existential crisis in the company. Had to rewrite our own marketing.
He worked agency side as a strategist and is now being a thought leader on that side. His book is amazing. I think we sort of covered that pretty well in the podcast. But the content he's putting out on LinkedIn, this is specifically what's been so hot. His content is fucking shit hot, okay?
Give me more.
So, you know, he is doing ChatGPT prompts.
How is he managing to stand out to you with ChatGPT prompts? Because I feel like everybody wants to give me a GPT.
His content just feels like it's not he's put his book into ChatGPT and just got a few things out. I think every single post feels
it's not he's put his book into He probably has. I mean,
honestly, I just think, from my point of view, there's so many thought leaders and influencers on LinkedIn. I just think his posts are so good. And the overall content he comes out with is so good. You know, his content is very much about finding white space for your business. So maybe this is not so much marketing, but from an entrepreneurial bent. He's about finding white space, sort of being innovative, you know, setting yourself out from the crowd, sort of becoming that 1% where you can actually really grow and thrive as a business. I honestly, check out his LinkedIn page. Every single time it comes up, it has been absolutely grade A.
Well, I mean, just from the animation with which you talk about it, I think say no more. Hot. He's in.
Next one. Now, this is something you're going to particularly love. I saw a post.
It's a car.
From Rory Sutherland, one of our favourites.
Oh, yeah.
I think let's be honest,
everyone's favourite. I mean, it's just Sutherland. Amazing.
Physical outreach. Mail. Physical mail.
I am liking this so far. Yeah.
So what Rory's saying is that actually physical mail gets a lot of bad rep, but actually digital marketing has become so wild and so oversaturated that actually, for a new generation, getting physical mail is an incredibly exciting and rare thing.
If you can get the mail to them.
If you can get the mail to them.
Which maybe, to be fair, that's probably more, I'm thinking that's unfair. That's B2C, I think it's a lot easier. B2B, I think there's been the challenge of nobody was in the office, so no way of actually getting it to. But they're all back to work now. And yeah, I do, but I mean, you're right. I've said that sentiment last autumn to you. I think there's come a point where it's going to get worse. You know, we've predicted a few times it's happening with AI tools making it easier and easier, faster. It's like the content the wheel is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's one challenge here which we face all the time. How do you make your content stand out? And I think what you were talking about with Alex is quite interesting. That's him managing to stand out in the noise
from a strategic level,
strategically, and in digital. But of course, the other thing to do is if they're all going that way, go this way. And I think that's I'm on board
and,
with that.
And Rory Sutherland saying it, there's got to be something to it. And you know, from the B2B side as well, you know, Louis Sanford, who we talked to, just the Mailman Limited, you know, he sends like coconuts to people, saying you're a hard nut to crack. You know, he sends it on behalf of businesses. You know, I think that could be really big this year. And actually, there's another thing that Rory Sutherland was saying, as if I know Rory, is that actually when they did a test, they did it for charity, they found that the quality of paper would make a big difference. You know, we're talking...
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just give Louis a little bit of airtime. God knows he deserves it. He had to put up with us on pitch meetings and we never went forward. But not because we didn't love it. And I do think one of the things he was doing is it's not just sending a piece of paper in the mail, is about everything that you get. You're got a little opportunity. And I think you just hinted at it a second ago with so rare for the younger generation, it's a bit more of a moment.
Yeah.
Louis' whole thing is coming up with wild stuff to send people. But what he's doing is he's creating that moment in it. How do you stand out? We get 52,000 emails pitching us this service. I'm better than this guy and every day. Now, people have tried standing out with all sorts of things in your inbox. They're still an email. They are limited in format. You want to mail something to somebody, you can kind of get a bit wild and creative and, you know, I don't know, singing quartets rocking up around the country doing it, but why not? So I like it.
Well, you said, if you can get the post through your door, if you can get a singing quartet through, why not?
If not, at least you paid them to serenade the street. You've made somebody happy, I feel.
Okay, we've got to be moving on a bit quicker. LinkedIn
Why?
video.
No 5-minute fix anymore, mate. I'm here. Okay. Settle in.
All right.
Get your cup of tea out.
I still want it to be concise. First episode, guys. Anyway.
Shouldn't have hired me.
Third one of hot is LinkedIn video. Now, we have spoken a bit about this, in the past.
You mean my prediction of the flop for the year? LinkedIn videos, yeah.
You think it's going to be a flop, do you?
It doesn't even remember. There's no point, is there? Yeah, it was I said, no, I'll be specific. My point was, I fear that if people put LinkedIn type content into the LinkedIn shorts, it will be boring to watch and flop as a result.
No, I think like most other platforms, cream rises to the top. It will just get good content.
It'll all be True Group then. Great.
Yeah, exactly. I think LinkedIn video, and people are calling it TikTok LinkedIn, is going to be huge this year, and I think it's really hot at the moment. I just don't think anyone's actually done it very well.
Whoa. We have.
Okay,
no, but actually, this is going to sound like terrible blow smoke up our ass. But I actually did see a video earlier and went, oh, that's good. A credit to Megan here, who does all the brilliant work after we've rambled on, picking out what's worth putting out. She did the short of you talking last week about market conditions and DCA and that little clip. And I literally went, oh, what's that? And they went, oh, fuck, exactly, and that is. So there you go, can be done.
Honestly, I think it's hot at the moment. It's only going to get hotter. The content's only going to get better. Graphic designers seem to be doing it really well. They've sort of taken this format where they'll take a brand and then, with over-the-shoulder shots and sort of screenshots, they'll show how they would have redone a brand. That kind of stuff's kind of interesting. I think once people, get onto that, and maybe even hire us to consult on that sort of stuff, then the content will get even better. So I do think LinkedIn, TikTok is going to be better this year. And I think ultimately, LinkedIn, as we all know, can be such a cringy place. I think there has to be a switch.
It's very awkward that I have a hot for LinkedIn as well in a minute. This is terrible. It's obviously had a good week for us, isn't it?
So let's go into the not. By the way, actually, before we do, LinkedIn. So there's 44% year-on-year increase in video uploads on LinkedIn.
That sounds impressive. I guess it depends how high the barrier was, but yeah, that feels like a lot.
LinkedIn users specifically are 20 times more likely to share video content than, say, other content, which seems wild.
Share video than a document or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Content.
Yeah.
And they're saying that video posts on LinkedIn generate 5 times more engagement. And, ultimately, I think those are probably stats from before this particular TikTok mechanic works, but I just think it's only going to get more and more.
I agree.
Okay, not.
Wow.
Quick one. There was so the first not.
This is the spicy end now.
Is PR pubs. I spoke to Greg Double, actually. Greg Double, creative director of Burson, I believe. He was talking about some activations he did down at the pub. Do you remember?
Right, yes, okay.
And then now there was a PR week article.
I thought you meant publication, publication.
No, public houses.
Yes, okay. As in a pub.
PR in public houses.
Yes.
And there was a PR article recently that talked about pub activations in PR are the new floating something down the Thames. So whenever you sort of just wanted to get something in the press really quickly, you just floated down the Thames. And actually,
which hasn't been done in a while, so weirdly, it's probably now a really good idea.
Maybe.
Should we do our podcast floating down the Thames next week? That'd be great. Big boy.
Actually started really thinking about that. I was supposed to be, could it be cold though?
Be cold.
So pub activations are the new floating down the Thames.
Okay.
As in everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
And this article was basically saying, leave the pub alone. It's where people want to relax, and it's overdone. And friend of the pod, Greg Double, basically said, he's done both. He's done good PR campaigns and activations of pubs are bad ones. And, his thing was, look, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad. I'm sort of,
Well, is it about what you wedge in? Because the first thing that comes to mind now you said that is, of course, we helped a little with the design on the Charles Truett pub activation with friend of the pod, Kink Agency. The point there was, I thought that was great because it was about rugby, and watching rugby down the pub is a very pub activity. So it didn't feel like you were sort of square peg round holing that, whereas it sounds to me like maybe some of these other activations are. They're just wedging something into a pub. Is there something about that?
I understand the article. You're down the pub. You probably get barraged, as we just talked about, enough by brands and marketing online and wherever. You
just go and relax.
The pub is not really a place for that. However, I would certainly say that actually, if it genuinely adds the experience, if you go down to the pub for an experience watching sport and the PR activation the brand can add to it, then why the hell not?
Yeah.
Like Greg was saying, if it's good activation, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And, he said that it's all sort of based around this thing that consumers will remember something happened 3 months ago and say, oh, that was just like the PR campaign 3 months ago. Us marketing professionals think about it. General public doesn't give a shit.
No.
So they'll see something floating down the Thames now and be like, "Oh my god, that's floating down
Fun.
the Thames! Incredible!"
It'll be us.
As
Giant inflatable us's.
Well, I mean, that doesn't need to be on
one
the
of
Thames,
those.
that
You
can
know,
be
the ones
anywhere.
that do the.
That's not there. Next on the not list is meme coins in the world of crypto. Now you look at me like,
Ooh,
you
we're
know,
in the
I
wrong
love,
podcast here. Yeah,
I
go
love
on.
a meme coin, right?
Well, what I've really read into this is that this week you didn't make money in meme coins, so you've dumped in your not list.
That's true. I didn't make money, but what I would say is
They were hot when they were winning, and they're not when they're not.
So I don't want to go into how wildly volatile they've become, but what I would want to say is actually, meme coins, although can be viewed as silly with no utility, there are meme coins we've sort of been involved with and we've been investors in as well, such as Hire, where actually they sort of operate in a similar sort of way to NFTs or sort of digital collectibles can work in that they
grounding a community.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas I think, we jumped the shark with the inauguration where obviously...
so basically Trump's ruined meme coins.
Well...
Yes, Trump's ruined meme coins.
Well, I would say... It's certainly where it goes from something which could be viewed in a positive way to something which now just seems an absolute grift.
That's interesting because I think they've existed forever. It's just that this has made it even more widely known. I don't know.
Well, the thing
those slightly ridiculous.
Obviously in my research, I didn't research this particular thing. I heard that the priest at the inauguration also released his own meme coin like an hour after.
Everyone's like that Vine thing, isn't it? That went, it's
a wild grift.
There was. She's been in the press for rug pulling
since that happened, have you? She's gone dead silent. What I would say is that, look, it's just when you're saying it's not hot this week, it might come back. I would just say from the PR point of view for meme coins, it's been a pretty bad couple of weeks.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is a good time to plug. Do not miss our Higher Chain collab podcast, our crypto podcast, because we did talk about that a bit this week, and you could kind of see the tension between my views on this and Jack's but I understand sort of the principle here, but they are absolutely ridiculous bullshit in this. Now the argument could be made that so is going and playing blackjack at a casino, and I think fair enough, yes, you could make the same argument. So maybe they just need a framework, but they are absolutely good, but they always have been. I don't think that's this week.
Well, it's been a bad week for them, They are not hot this week.
No, okay.
We are just purveyors of hot or not. We're not saying these things are ruined for life. We're just saying currently in the week, according to us, it's not hot. And then the third one, my final one for not, is cinema. Whoa. So Tarantino came out recently saying there hasn't actually been a decent cinema year since 2019. That everything is
cinema year,
that everything is now sort of fully focused on streaming, that people just don't go out to the cinema anymore. In fact, you could see that in a lot of the films that have been slated for this year from Hollywood, the big tentpole ones. In fact, it's kids' movies because kids' movies, you do go out to the cinema. It's a little bit more.
What about independent, more creative arts cinema, the sort of thing I would never go to, but I would imagine that still lives on. Maybe.
Well, not in a way that I think has any real, any real impact. Where I want to go with this is that cinema itself is dying, and people are talking about streaming. Netflix obviously had a huge, uptick, a really good earnings quarter, making a lot of money at the moment. Stock price rocketed. However, you're already getting people saying that Netflix's piece of the pie is going to be taken by YouTube. And TikTok.
I was going to say, I would suggest that streamers have got a challenge because it's actually going to the end creators, which is why that's why I mentioned the independent cinema things. It feels more like the individual creators. So the challenge therefore becomes, does a Spielberg get given a Hollywood budget in 10 years' time, or does that type of genius get left to have to sort of make it for himself? Where will that take us? That's really interesting because actually, now you say it, I haven't sort of seen something that made me want to go to cinema in a while. On the other hand, only I think last week, maybe the week before, I was thinking, do you know what? I'd really like to go and have a proper cinema experience. I get a bit bored of seeing everything on very small screens.
Once in a while, for sure. But I think the conversation for me is, cinema, as Tarantino says, is not hot this week. But, in 10 years' time, Netflix, which is supposedly the behemoth that's going to be taking over everything, I don't think that's going to be much hot, actually.
No, neither do I. And maybe it's a vinyl record moment, and the cinema has its own type of resurgence where it's like, no, I really want... Because there is something of the experience that we forget about. There's the convenience of sitting on your ass at home. Great. But the experience of just the quality of sound and visual and everything that's in a cinema makes, for certain movies, I suppose it depends on the film, but for certain movies really helps, really lifts.
I think what we're saying is certainly would suggest it's not going to be as much of an industry.
There will be a smaller industry.
No. Anyway, from a weekly point of view, cinema this week is not hot. That was it. Our first Hot or Not episode. How do you think that went? Let us know in the comments like you always do.
John, thank you very much in advance.
Lots of love, everyone, and we'll see you next week for Hot or Not, episode number 2.